Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rich Robinson.
I am lucky enough to be coming to you from the Brighton Music Hall with probably one of the greatest songwriters and guitar players of our generation, Mr. Rich Robinson.
How you doing?
Rich, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Boston.
Thanks.
You at home might know Rich as one of the co-founders and driving forces behind the Black Crowes. You might know him from his extensive touring and solo work, and you might even know Rich Robinson the painter. Before we jump in, do we have any particularly fond Boston memory or two you can share with us? You've been doing this a long time.
I think my memory lasts just a few years. Last time we played, last time the Crowes played here, every time we've always played Boston, it's always been great. But I remember playing with Tedeschi Trucks last year, or 2013. That was such a cool show. Mm-hmm. You know, being able to, every time we come here, it's always the best.
So your third solo record, the Ceaseless Sight, comes out about a year or so ago.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that record, sort of how it came to fruition.
I didn't have a lot of finished songs. Normally I'll have a bunch of finished songs. This time I wanted to just see what happened. I just wanted to use the energy of the studio. So I went in, and I always like to let the music will always kind of dictate where the record's going to go. There's always an array of songs, and it can kind of run the gamut. So that's really what I wanted to do, just use that energy to go in and just be inspired and have it feel real and inspiring, and that's what I always search for.
Does that process differ from maybe some of your other solo records? Is there ever a point where you're writing on the road and bringing it into the studio, or kind of
I'm always writing parts. So a lot of times in the past with the Crowes or with my own stuff, I would have full songs and I would bring them in. This time I just felt like I just want to see what happens, you know. And a lot of time, and that one spark that leads to another, I think it's exciting.
As far as having your name on the front, is there an added layer of pressure when you're actually in the studio?
No, not really.
No?
No, I just want it to be good. I've been going to the studio for 25 years. Really, you can only write for yourself. I only really know what works for me and what moves me and what it means for me. I don't think that you can write for other people. I think because you don't know anyone. Your writing comes from a myriad of experiences that we have, music that we listen to, life experiences, travel, visuals, whatever. And then we take all this in, and then it comes out through that filter.
You talk about 25 years worth of being in the studio. It seems like over the course of your career, you have this uncanny ability to surround yourself with some phenomenal musicians. So talk to me a little bit about the musicians you worked with on your last record.
I worked with this guy, Marco Benevento, who's great. He's just one of the most talented musicians I've ever worked with. Working with Chuck Leavell on the Crowes' first record, and to be able to have Marco, he's young, he's in his 30s, and he was killing it. I was just like, wow. Having Amy Helm come sing on the record, which was really cool. One of the reasons why I like to work in Woodstock. On the last record, I had Larry Campbell, Warren Haynes, this guy Carl Berger, who used to play with Ornette Coleman, came and played piano and vibes on my record. It's pretty amazing to branch out and do that.
So you talked about working in Woodstock and how much you like it. How did the idea come about for Woodstock Sessions Volume 3, where you invited an entire live audience in and worked with them? Usually the studio is a pretty sacred place.
It is. My brother actually came up with this idea a few years ago. Everyone thought it was a cool idea. Let's go in and do it, It's not being in the studio, really. It's not like painstaking and cutting tracks, but it's really, you get to see what it's like to mic and work and live in that environment. Those spaces are designed to make music and to make sounds and stuff, so it's really cool.
And when it comes to the business side of everything you do, of being Rich Robinson, how involved are you in that process?
It really is the tedious side of everything, but it's necessary.
How do you think the industry has changed, and do you think it's better now, better then, that sort of thing?
I don't know. It's hard to say, because back then, we were able to make records and have an outlet and sell millions of albums and tour and do. I'm sure there's tons of bands that thought that there was no outlet for them, and now you have an outlet at least, and somehow maybe through some sort of grassroots thing you can get some attention and start building something. On the flip side, you flood a format with millions and millions of bands, you still have to sift through the top. So ultimately, what a record company was good for in the day was marketing. Now that, with very little bands, and now that there's millions and millions of bands, you still need marketing to kind of raise to the top. So I think it's, like everything, it's good and bad,
So social media, a blessing or a curse?
I think it's a curse. I think it turns everyone into a shameless self-promoter. And I think that people have convinced me to do it, and I do a little bit, but, I have people that help me with it because I'm old.
I'm 32 and I don't know how it works either.
I can't work these things. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it just, everything is like branding and this and that, and it's just like it's allowed corporate structure to seep into something that it shouldn't be. I don't think that people should have to live that way.
From day one, I think you've always managed to do is be authentic and write things that are true to you and true to the time and what you're feeling at that moment. And going back to the corporate structure and that commercial pressure, was there ever a point in your career where you felt that the record company needed a single and you had to churn it out, and you caved and altered your process?
I mean, in a million years, I would never know how to write a single. I wrote some songs with my brother, and we had some hits. We never expected them to be hits. We just liked them, and that's it. And then we had a couple more, and then we didn't have any for a long time. We never really changed what we did. I think it's absolutely absurd for anyone to think that they can guess what a hit is. We should strive for greatness instead of trying to shoot for the bottom denominator for the sake of money.
So shifting gears a little bit, you've been on the road pretty consistently for the last year since the Ceaseless site came out. Sometimes with the band, sometimes acoustic. This evening happens to be acoustic. Is there any trepidation when it's just you up there with the acoustic guitar and everything's stripped away?
It's a little nerve-wracking. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, it's cool. First few shows I did were kind of like, wow, there's normally this thing behind me that's pushing me, like a tapestry, like a blanket of music that you can sort of wrap yourself in. With this, it's just me. It's vulnerable, but it's also good because you're playing these songs in their most basic form, and if they can hold on their own in that form, then to me, that's what makes a good song.
Lord knows you have enough material. How does it, what's the process when you're determining a set list?
I mean, every set is different. I change the set list every night. I add and take away songs and just kind of see how it flows. And it's good also to listen to yourself and what is going to be comfortable and what you feel you're going to bring, and also how the crowd is responding and what they respond to. So it's a pretty detailed process.
How do you balance old versus new? Is that something that's ever in your mind?
No, I mean, I'll play a Crow song every once in a while, and then I'll play my new songs and covers. I mean, but I don't, I just kind of do what I do.
Sure. So what does the rest of 2015 hold for you?
I'm supposed to go into more shows. I'm meeting my band in Texas, and then we're going up the Midwest as a band and playing some shows. And then I'm supposed to go into the studio, make a record in August, and then play some more shows in Colorado and kind of out west. And then I'm going to Europe for 4 or 5 weeks, doing an acoustic tour like this.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the painting.
But it's supposedly have an art show coming up, 2 of them, one in New York and one in LA next year. I had one show in Atlanta which went really well. They're still showing my stuff at another gallery down there. I started working on a much larger format, so I'm working on like 8-foot to 12-foot canvases. It's a really amazing outlet.
Is it different for you than, say, writing a song or playing guitar?
Absolutely. It's just you, it's visual, it's quiet, and you get to just, try anything you want, and that's what I like about it.
I guess one thing, not being very artistic myself, I've never known is, how do you know when a painting is done?
That's tough. I mean,
this is done.
Some people, it's the same thing with the song. I mean, some people that's their biggest problem, is that when is it done? And to me, you just have to make a decision. You just kind of feel it, and you're like, okay, cool, that's done. And I never look back. I mean, I know there are musicians like, oh man, if I had written this on that song, if I knew now I mean, the songs we wrote were what they needed to be at the time, and they were great for what they were, and I'm doing different stuff now. I don't hate what I did. I think it was the best we could have done at each juncture in our age and our career. And, next time it'll be cool too.
Very cool. Well, Rich, thanks again for taking the time. We very much appreciate it. Everybody at home, head on over to richrobinson.net for all the latest. He's a busy guy, so you're going to want to keep up with him. Pick up the Ceaseless site wherever you buy music. Remember that, buy music. And guys, back to you.